it was the worst news ever. It was the worst moment of my life, if I can say that. And I was numb, and yet in that moment, inwardly, I froze. But then I realized, the doctor was still talking to me. He's giving me names of different oncologists and says, you know what, because this is cancer now. I know I'm not sending you, for example, to just a gynecologist. This is an oncology issue. So he gave me different names and says, these doctors, I know them well. They're going to take it from there. So the nurses came through, and they were just okay. They were in a good mood. I mean, doctors and medical professionals, they're not people who are quick to panic around stuff, because I mean they've seen it all. But then here I was, I'm the one who's told that I have cancer, and I've just driven myself to the doctor. I didn't know what to do. So I got out after finishing with the doctor, and I sat in my car and I started crying. I cried. Whew, I cried for literally an hour or so, really crying, heavy sighs, I would run out of breath. There was a lump on my throat, and I didn't know what to do. So I then called my one of my best friends, and I told him. Then I said, I've just been diagnosed with cancer, and I don't know what to do. And so he says, so have you called your mom? And I said, no, 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 I don't want her to know, because I don't want to stress her. But then I didn't understand the gravity of this. And so my friend is like, no, I think you're actually already in panic mode. There's no way you're going to keep a cancer diagnosis away from your parents. I said, no, 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 I'll be fine. Let me handle it alone. Over these last years, remember I was on painkillers, so I can handle this. I don't want them to know. I didn't want them to stress. But then my best friend, he did what he did, called my mother, and yeah. And so that's how my parents got to know. It was my friends who told my parents. And because I just didn't know what to do. So, the first few moments were tough, Gibbs. It was, yeah.
Hmm.
It was difficult.
And then it was the time for you to start treatment from then onwards. Tell us your story.
So when I picked an oncologist, I went to see him, and because after I told my surgeon the specific oncologist I chosen, he then sent my medical information to him. I went in to see him, and so he started taking me through, what is colorectal cancer, what happens, what exactly is cancer, with the diagrams and stuff. And I was looking, and I said, I just want to know, so at what stage am I? How long do I have to live? And he was quite amused by that, and he said, that's not how we're dealing with cancer these days. Cancer is not always about, you have 3 weeks to live, or you've got 3 months or 6 months to live. Let's walk the journey together. And the first thing he said to me was, I need you to want to live. I'm here so that I journey with you, but your willpower is what I'm going to bank on. Your willpower and God. And he said, the ultimate decision lies with God. But I am here as, someone who's going to be a catalyst towards this. But I need you to walk with me in this journey, because I was a mess. I was a total mess. So he started explaining, like I've said, and and one thing that hit me was, no, this is colorectal cancer. Colon cancer is more common in 50-year-old men. And so I was sitting there in his office, and I said, no, but doctor, I'm only 33. I'm young. I'm a Black African woman. What is this? And he says, no, don't worry. It's common in others, but then you're probably the minority. And so we then went through the treatment plan, had to go to the radiology center, talking to the radiographers. They came up with a treatment plan where I needed both radiotherapy and chemotherapy, wrote down the list of the medication that I needed. So while all this was happening, my family was like, why don't you go to South Africa? Why don't we go to India? But then my doctor then came through and said, you know what, this she's at stage 3B. And at one point he said, this is basically a polite way to say this cancer is at stage 4, which is a critical stage. So because she can't even sit properly, and the pain that she is in, it would really be unfair for us to just put her on a plane and she goes maybe to South Africa or India, because by then I knew nothing about, the alternative treatments, the hotel stay, which doctor, which hospitals. I had no idea. So I just said, let's do this in Zimbabwe. But what I didn't really know was the cost of treatment, how much it was going to be. So that's how we then sort of started the journey of treatment and getting to understand what radiotherapy was and chemotherapy. I also had to sign a consent form, which I only now understand why I had to sign that, because of the side effects that come also with treatment. So yeah, basically that's how we started the treatment journey.
So now, in terms of treatment, what actually did you go through? Where did you go, and how was it, in terms of treatment?
So in terms of treatment, I needed both radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So with radiotherapy, initially we wanted the option of a public hospital, that's Parenyatwa. So when I went there, unfortunately, one of the machines was not working. The other one was sometimes working. So there was quite a long waiting list. And for any cancer patient, a waiting list or waiting period of even a month or a day sometimes is just too long, a waiting period. And I remember the staff, they told me, they said, sometimes we have a waiting list for people for up to even 6 months. And so my doctor said, you know what, we have to go the private route. So we then opted for the OncoCare option, OncoCare in Harare, Newlands. And so this is for radiotherapy. So basically radiotherapy, before the radiotherapy started, the radiographers had to know the positioning of where the cancer was, which is in the colorectal area. And so what happened is they put little tattoos, tiny tattoos, black dots. I'd get sort of a small injection, and they put in black ink. So on either side of my hips, just at my groin and at my lower back. So the 4 different positions. So these little tattoos were to align the powerful rays that would come from the radiotherapy sessions.